I know there's a listener that's saying everything you said, Mr. Pruitt, everything you said, Dr. Spicer, sounds great. I believe students should be seen and valued, they should be affirmed, we should have connected environments, but I don't really believe in the restorative approach when I want to teach my content in my class. And there may be other people who say, we've tried this restorative thing and it didn't go well for us. How would you kind of like talk through with a school district or even like a teacher, say like, I'm committed to this work. Yeah. I don't feel like I have the support that I may need to do it. I'm doing it in the pocket in my school building, or we've tried to launch it on the district level and things just haven't kind of panned out the way we thought it would. Yeah. In your both work, again, traveling across the country, how would you kind of like work with our audience on like getting to a point where they can continue to push the work in their respective spaces?
So I had the opportunity to work in Syracuse City School District for about 5 years. And we had a lot of that going on in terms of buy-in, right? How do we buy into this particular concept? And when I was asked to come and consult with that district, 3 things came out to me that I think will help the audience. One is building a team that is dedicated to being trained and getting the knowledge and information specific to how to be restorative, how to live a restorative and walk a restorative life. Number 2, build the brand, right? Build the brand in such a way that when people see or hear restorative justice, they know what it means and how it's supposed to be used, as opposed to what they think and they want it to be used as. So building the brand is like very important. And finally, and one of the most hardest things to do is building buy-in. One of the great knowledge, information that I received, great lessons that I received working in that district and a few others, is the buy-in does not happen overnight. Audience, do you hear me? The buy-in does not happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 6 months. It's not going to happen in 3 months. It's not going to happen in 1 month. Sometimes it's going to take 3 years, sometimes 5 years, and depending upon the size of your district, it may take 10, 20 years. But you could be that one person of many with your team and with your building of your brand and building of your brand to begin to usher in a new day. Yourself, Nick, saw the district one way. Now today, March 3rd, 2022, we're in a room of 150 people, 130 people, right? Culture and climate coordinators, right? I mean, they're called culture specialists. Yep. And here they are, getting all this great knowledge and information from these experts in the work, but it took time to build that team, right? You can sit back and think how much time it took for us to get back together, right? Or to get here, right? Then to build the brand, right? That this is worth the effort, right? This is worth the time, right? This is worth you spending the whole day. I'm not going to go and buy a Pepsi or Coca-Cola. I don't think it don't taste good. And so if I think restorative justice is something that's going to help me in my furthering of my education, but also be able to help others, yeah, that's what I want to get part of. And that's a brand I want to connect to, right? And then finally, the buy-in, right? The buy-in comes with time. It comes with consistency. It comes with Dr. J is doing, Dr. Janine Franklin, who shared this very powerful terminology. I'm going to travel all over the place and I'm going to give her credit for it, trademark it or something, because you're going to hear it replayed back and it's going to be your name attached to it. She said restorative minutes is instructional minutes. And a lot of the buy-in is that teachers feel like what Mr. Pruitt's doing with his organization and the youth that he's working with in Nashville and in Maine and Maryland, all across the United States, is not worth the time because they're losing instructional time. But when you understand that time that you're receiving with this incredible organization and with us at Restorative Strategies is going to help you in the instructional teaching and learning time, then you're going to see it's worth it. This is something that I want to connect with. This is something that I want to spend time and energy investing in, really building myself up. And I'm really, really thankful that all those members that were sitting in that room were invested.
So Dr. Spicer, during our sessions today, you shared a very straightforward framework with our participants so they can know like how the work is actually going and how they can identify spaces in their culture, so they can really have an idea about what they're doing and like how students are experiencing their culture. Can you share with our audience what that framework was?
Sure. I got this framework from a very intelligent young lady that I work with in Syracuse City School District, Ms. Nicole Hayes, and she talks about what culture is, right? And from her understanding and her work, culture is what we practice, what we promote, and what we permit in a school environment. And that culture affects the climate and not the other way around. Because if we're trying to affect climate and we're trying to do it fast, that's when zero tolerance kicks in, because we're trying to get the temperature down and the overall feel of a school, community down fast.
And so what that means is like we see an uptick in suspensions.
Exactly.
We see an uptick in expulsions.
Exactly.
We see police in our buildings and spaces more often than
That's
we
what we
should.
see.
Yeah.
When you see that, that's because there's this heightened awareness that the temperature has risen. So now the reaction is not to bring in circles, but to bring in police, to bring in zero tolerance, to bring in these draconian practices and policies that hurt and harm and arrest the development of our young people. So the focus is to now get into the culture. What are you practicing in your school, right? Are you practicing zero tolerance, or are you practicing a restorative mindset, right? What are you promoting? What are you using as your way of getting the message out in your school and in your community to let people know we're not the same school that we were, like what happened when we were down there at Finger High School. We had to change the approach of what was going on internally before we can promote to the world that we are a different school and this is a place where you can come and you can learn and your children can be safe. And then finally, the practice. Right? What are you practicing, right? Are you practicing peace circles? Are you practicing conflict circles? Are you practicing circles of understanding? Are you practicing mediation? Are you getting the young people trained so they can actually take some of these young people that are in trouble and have them actually restore them into the community? How powerful that is for another young person to help another young person. Each one reach one, each one teach one, and they in turn can monitor and mentor and support them in their development. And so that's the focus when we're looking at culture.
I can't say I'm anti-racist, but then be zero tolerance. I can't say I'm anti-racist and then not have restorative practice. Those things cannot exist within themselves.